Yeah, George said we got some things to talk about.
George always thinks we got things to talk about.
I saw you finding the good fight talking to that committee. You
Yes.
know, um, a lot of people have a lot of questions, about that Chevron doctrine, and I know that's kind of been going in play. Is that something? I know we probably need a lawyer involved to talk about some of that stuff. I don't know how things work in that order, but they made it sound like anything that a lot of these agencies, EPAs, FMCSAs, all the A's, DOTs, all these rules that they kind of put in place, you know, they shouldn't have been doing that.
Well, kind of. I mean, I think we're going to be 20 years probably figuring out what this is really going to mean for us, this whole Chevron doctrine. I mean, if it's the important thing that people need to remember, if it was something implemented by Congress, Chevron doctrine doesn't come into play at all. It has to be something that came from an agency like FMCSA or EPA or something like that. It has to be something that they did on their own. But again, then it has to show harm and some stuff like that. I'm not a lawyer either, and I don't even try to play one on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I heard that.
that
I heard
being
that.
said, but I do know that, but that's the thing. So you have to show some harm. It's not going to do away with anything that was already passed. Not that it doesn't go back and change things. It would have to be challenged. And I'm sure there's going to be some court challenges here in the future, and we'll see how this stuff kind of plays out. But I know one big one that truckers were all some we've heard some on was ELDs, and it's not going to affect ELDs because ELDs were mandated by Congress.
So
Yeah,
if there was a myth buster to think that will the ELD get overturned, well, there you guys have it. Congress is the one
yeah.
that actually made the law about that. So it wasn't the FMCSA on that, huh?
Nope, wasn't FMCSA. They just got stuck implementing it and caught holding the bag.
I heard that. I heard that. So, what's new? What should we let all the truck drivers know? I know you're always fighting the good fight.
Pleasure. Last week we were in DC all week. Testified on Wednesday at the House T&I subcommittee about some DOT regulations. Speed limiters, of course, came up. We all know how great that is. And so we talked about speed limiters, a little bit about EVs, insurance minimums. Some of the EPA stuff came up as far as electric vehicles, and I mean mainly like all these hearings. The congressman gets to ask me the question. We got to do some opening statements for 5 minutes, and then it's just open to questions to me and the other folks there testifying.
Tell us this. So, if Congress makes all the rules, these lawmakers, these congressmen and women, uh, what what do they want to know the most about truck drivers? Like, let's walk this backwards a little bit. What were their concerns? Did they have any concerns?
Yeah, I mean, some are very concerned about speed limiters. They understand the problem and very very concerned about speed limiters for sure. So that's good. I think there's some on the other side that don't completely understand it. I kind of got a drilling by one complaining about how high speed, but of course he drilled me on it, but he wouldn't let me finish answering his questions. So because my point was going to be, if you got a problem with high speed limits, that's a totally different argument. If you want to try to get speed limits lowered, that's fine, just so you lower cars and trucks at the same time. But he wouldn't allow me to say that. He just wanted to yell at me and explain to me with some kind of goofy data that how that stuff that for some goofy data that really didn't point out that the problem was trucks.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
No, I hear you. You know, so what's new? George, I was reading the email and he was like, I think what Todd is out there talking about, if I was reading the email correctly, highlighting some stuff that EPA is kind of overreaching on. Did I get that right?
yeah, that's correct. We've both been doing that, and that was brought up a lot in the hearing as well. Congressman LaMaffa and a couple others brought that up too, as far as the whole complete operational challenge of these electric vehicles and how it's not ready for prime time. It's not ready for all. Maybe it'll never be ready. and government giving subsidies and forcing this onto us, EPA and stuff, is such a bad idea. Let free market work this out. Why won't small business truckers buy this stuff? Because one, it isn't affordable. Two, it isn't going to work. Three, there's nowhere to even really charge a truck. So it's kind
No,
of
I heard
crazy.
that.
It's crazy. And then when, talking about all the real world problems as far as these trucks weigh 10 to 15,000 pounds more, they cost so much more, there's just all this stuff. One thing nobody talks about, if you tow an EV breaks down and has to be towed, the tow lot has to have a moat or a pit to put the truck in case it catches fire. And that
Oh
takes
yeah,
yeah.
I heard about that. So how much does that get? How much would that cost for that
Yeah.
pit or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, tow companies are already ripping off truckers. Let's throw that into the mix.
You know, I had a good friend of mine the other day go, Alex, why do you truck drivers hate electric trucks so much? And I I thought about it for a second, and we'll see how the drivers that watch the show think about my response to this. But what I really thought about was, it's kind of like what you said a little bit about that free market. If if it wasn't forced upon us, and if a truck driver themselves thought that this was a great business model for their company and they chose to get an electric truck, I don't think anyone would be mad. I think where people are upset is I got this I got this brand new truck and it's going to take me 10 years to pay this sucker off. However long it might take to pay off all of my equipment. And by the time I pay it off, you're telling me I can't use it no more. That's kind of like telling me, look, you could pay 25, 30 years on this mortgage, but by the time you pay it off, you can't live in the house no more. And I think that's when it starts pissing people off is I do agree with you that free market's where it's at because I don't think truck drivers actually hate electric trucks. They hate the fact that the government is pushing that all of us have to use electric trucks. You know what I mean?
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if they can invent an electric truck that's cheaper to operate, lasts longer, more efficient, or however, put all these things together than a diesel truck, then truckers are going to buy them because this is a business. We got to remember trucking's a business. So, and if you want to stay competitive in a business, you have to figure out a better, cheaper, more efficient way to do it. And if that's the way it comes, you put more money in your pocket, that's what you're going to do. But being told, you're right, being told this is what you're going to do when you don't even know if it's going to work. Hey, nobody wants to do that. And that could be a
Yeah.
disaster. It could be a complete disaster.
And you know what? The only reason that any dang company is doing any of that now is if they're a big enough brand, one, they're doing it for PR, and two, I mean, if the government legitly is going to give you the truck for free, you might just try it. Anything out there as far as I know we're talking about speed limiters, we're talking about the EPA and kind of their overreach with trying to push, electrified trucks down our throats. Anything else that we need to keep aware of?
Well, we just submitted a coalition letter today to the Speaker of the House and Ranking Member for the parking bill. Because as those out there probably already know, we got a parking bill through committee. It's on House floor. It's just waiting to be attached to something to vote on. So we did send a letter today asking the Speaker and them to find something to put this on, get this passed for truckers. Because as we know, this parking is at a crisis level. It isn't
Yeah,
getting any
yeah.
better. I I went home to Ohio 2 weeks ago in the car for see a friend. Coming back on Sunday morning about 7:30 in the morning there in Illinois, I come by the rest area where that tragic bus accident happened last year.
Hmm.
There's the ramp was all lined back up with trucks, and 8 or 10 trucks were parked right out across the shore of the interstate. And again, they got nowhere to go. I mean, we had a terrible accident there. We need to be doing something so them poor men and women in them trucks don't have to park in harm's way like that. It's ridiculous. And it's not their fault. They have nowhere else to go.
Gotcha. And so before I let you go, this bill about parking, I assume it's about more parking, but is there any other things in this bill that we need to know specifically as truck drivers?
Mainly, it's a bipartisan bill. $775 million for parking, and it has to be parking. Can't be signage and electronic gizmos, and it has to be pavement for you to park on. That's what all the money can be spent on. So it's good for truckers. It's good for trucking if we can get it. So, call your lawmakers and tell them, hey, this bill's passed. It's passed committee. It's on the floor. Find something to put it on and get it passed.
You know, so this bill's right on committee, is waiting
Yep.
to get voted on. So if it passes through, then you know that'd be a great thing. Because one thing that kind of irritates me is, they go, oh, we got $100 million budget for parking. We appreciate you truck drivers. I'm like, okay, $100 million. We're gonna be able to build 2 rest areas. I'm
Yeah.
like, huh? $100 million to build 2 rest areas? What the heck are you guys talking about? But it's like you said, uh, 20 millions for signage,
Yeah.
another 10 millions for some damn sensor. I mean, give me a break, man.
It's crazy too because I speak at a lot of state and municipality talk speak with a lot of these officials who are planning this stuff. In fact, I got a place I'm going to here in about 2 weeks here in Kansas City. Entire Midwestern Transportation Group is
Hmm.
a coalition, and they're coming in all these states and municipalities. I'm gonna speak there about parking, and that's the first thing they ask me. Well, how much of this should we put in for electronic signs and monitoring and all this stuff? And I'm like, nothing. That doesn't help. What helps is pavement and area to park on. That's what you should focus on. Once you have pretty much all the trucks parked, then worry about putting your damn signs up to say how many spaces are available. But let's put
I
trucks,
heard that.
but of course, you know how it is. Everybody likes gadgets. Everybody likes gadgets, and gadgets are fun and gadgets are easy.
Right, right. No, no, I appreciate your time.